The federal courthouse in downtown Miami didn't just buzz that Tuesday morning, it vibrated with tension. Outside, news vans lined the block like vultures circling a fresh carcass. Inside, every seat in the gallery was filled. Journalists clutched phones, notepads, half-empty coffee cups. Whispers floated through the air like static. Everyone expected a routine corruption trial. No one was prepared for her. At the defense table stood Pam Bondi, Florida's former attorney general. Blonde, composed, spine made of steel and eyes like a hawk scanning for weakness. She wasn't just known for going after corruption, she was infamous for leaving scorched earth behind. And across the room? Judge Edward Chen. A judicial bulldozer in human form. 22 years on the bench, razor-sharp intellect, reputation for slicing attorneys to ribbons with nothing but a look. He ruled his courtroom like a king, and he liked blood on the floor. At exactly 9 a.m., the courtroom doors swung open. "All rise," barked the bailiff. "Enter Chen." His black robe trailed behind him like a shadow. He didn't walk, he glided. Thin lips locked in a permanent sneer, eyes scanning the room like a man surveying his kingdom. He sat. Silence. Pam rose. Calm. Navy suit tailored to perfection. Hair pinned back like armor. She spoke without an ounce of hesitation. "Good morning, Your Honor. I am counsel for the defense." Chen didn't even lift his head. "I see," he said, voice like a knife dipped in acid. "I would have expected someone more seasoned for a case this tangled." A few chuckles echoed from the prosecution's table. Bondi didn't blink. "I assure the court, Your Honor," she replied coolly, "I'm more than prepared." But she knew. This wasn't about evidence. It wasn't about the law. It was theater. And Judge Chen had come for a performance, with her cast as the fool. And so it began. For 40 blistering minutes, Bondi was dragged through legal hell. Objections denied before she opened her mouth. Motions brushed aside like lint. Every time she built an argument, Chen slammed it down with a smirk or a snide, "Spare us, Miss Bondi." The gallery shifted. Frowns. Raised brows. Even the seasoned reporters sensed it, this wasn't tough judging. This was targeted. And it was personal. Meanwhile, the prosecution rambled freely, uninterrupted. When Bondi responded, Chen leaned in, lips curled. "Let's try to stay relevant, Miss Bondi. This isn't a campaign rally." And yet, she didn't break. She didn't even waver. She just kept writing. Quietly. Neatly. Line by line on a yellow legal pad. She wasn't folding. She was recording. Every insult. Every overreach. Every crack in Chen's cold veneer. She wasn't angry. She was focused. She had a plan, and the judge was walking straight into it. At exactly 11:45 a.m., Chen gavelled the session to a pause. "We'll break for lunch," he declared, standing like a man who'd already won. Then, with a smirk, "Miss Bondi, I suggest you use this time wisely. Your client might want to consider a plea." Laughter erupted from the prosecution's table. Bondi didn't react. "Thank you, Your Honor," she said crisply. "I look forward to continuing." She turned, graceful, unbothered. But on the defense table, waiting like a loaded gun, was a new folder. Thick. Embossed. The seal of the U.S. Department of Justice gleamed from its cover. And in the back of the courtroom, a woman in a gray suit and DOJ lanyard quietly took her seat. No one noticed her arrival. Not yet. But everything had shifted. This wasn't just about Bondi's client anymore. She was going after something bigger. Something entrenched. Something untouchable. And by the end of the day, one of the most feared judges in America would be escorted out of his own courtroom in handcuffs. To be continued in Part 2. The courtroom was still crackling with tension when Pam Bondi, as calm as ever, reached into her folio. "No rush. No grand gestures. Just quiet confidence, and a manila folder thick enough to make the gallery lean forward as one. Stamped. Sealed. Federal. She walked it to the evidence cart and placed it down with deliberate precision. A pause. Then, "Your Honor," she said, her voice even but carrying like a bell in a cathedral, "I am formally submitting into the record surveillance data from an ongoing federal investigation." The effect was electric. Gasps rippled through the courtroom like an aftershock. A reporter audibly whispered, "What the hell just happened?" From the back row, a man rose to his feet. Dark suit. Sharp cut. The glint of a badge caught the light. FBI Special Agent Jeffrey White. Bondi didn't flinch. She turned toward him with the same unshakable poise that had carried her through the morning storm. "Your Honor," she continued, eyes never leaving the bench, "with the court's permission, I'd like to call our first witness." Silence. Judge Chen blinked. A single blink, his first hesitation all day. "Witness?" he echoed, flatly. "Yes," Bondi replied. "Special Agent Rivera is prepared to testify regarding communications between yourself and the primary corporate beneficiary in this trial." You could hear hearts stop. The oxygen left the room. Judge Chen's lips parted. But nothing came out. And for the first time that day, he had no words. This wasn't courtroom drama. This was a coup in real time. Special Agent Rivera took the stand. The room didn't move. Reporters had stopped typing. Jurors leaned in as if pulled by gravity. Even the prosecution sat slack-jawed, like statues suddenly aware they'd been cast from the wrong mold. Bondi stepped into frame. Steady. Surgical. Devastating. "Agent Rivera," she said, voice cool, "can you confirm the findings of FBI Case File 23JC789 as it relates to Judge Edward Chen?" Rivera nodded. "Yes, ma'am. For close to a year, the FBI has been tracking illicit financial activity involving several federal judges. Among them, Judge Chen." The gallery gasped. "Go on," Bondi prompted. "We uncovered a pattern of wire transfers to an offshore account, Bermuda-based. All tied directly to the judge's personal alias. Each transfer occurred within 48 hours of rulings favoring Cream Industries." Murmurs. Heads turning. Cameras rising. Bondi's tone didn't change. But her questions cut sharper than steel. "And who currently serves as CEO of Cream Industries?" "Ryan Harris," Rivera said without hesitation. "The same man Judge Chen was recorded meeting with on 7 separate occasions." Bondi paused, let the silence breathe, then walked to the screen at the front of the room. "Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to submit into Evidence Exhibit FA, a series of email communications between Judge Chen and Mr. Harrington, obtained via federal warrant." The monitor flickered to life. Subject lines appeared like neon signs of guilt. "Timetable for favorable ruling. Let's ensure this sticks. Confirmation offshore transfer. Timestamped. Authenticated. Unshakable." Judge Chen's face? A ghost's reflection in a funhouse mirror, pale, distorted, stripped of power. Bondi didn't gloat. She didn't need to. "Additionally," she continued, "we have 3 audio recordings, each confirming pre-trial conversations between Judge Chen and Mr. Harrington, where future rulings were explicitly discussed." Rivera backed her up. "Voiceprint analysis confirms the recordings match Judge Chen's vocal patterns with 98.9% certainty." The air in the courtroom thickened. Nobody breathed. Pam Bondi closed her binder softly. Her final blow wasn't shouted. It was delivered in a whisper that hit harder than any scream. "This is not personal, Your Honor," she said, steady as ever. "It is documented. It is confirmed. And it is submitted under seal." Then it happened. The courtroom doors swung open, not with drama, but with authority. A tall woman entered, flanked by 2 U.S. Marshals. Gray suit. Impeccable. Her badge caught the light like a flare shot into the dark. Deputy Director Rebecca Cox. Department of Justice. She didn't need to introduce herself. The seal on her blazer and the silence that followed did it for her. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice ice-wrapped steel, "I am here on behalf of the DOJ's Public Integrity Section." The room held its breath. "As of this moment," she said, locking eyes with the stunned gallery, "Judge Edward Chen is being detained, pending formal charges of judicial bribery, obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and racketeering under the RICO Act." The courtroom exploded. A reporter gasped, "Oh my God." A pen clattered from someone's hand. One of the prosecutors visibly recoiled. A juror covered her mouth in shock. And Chen? He didn't move. Because the U.S. Marshals were already stepping forward, reaching for the gavel he once wielded like a weapon. It was taken from him. Click. The cuffs snapped shut around his wrists like punctuation on his legacy. And in that moment, everything changed. Gone was the smirk. The swagger. The courtroom tyrant. All that remained was a man, small, silent, undone by his own arrogance. He was walked past the jury box like a criminal, because now, he was one. As he passed Pam Bondi, their eyes met. No words. None were needed. He understood now. This wasn't luck. This wasn't politics. It was a plan, engineered, relentless, bulletproof. She hadn't retaliated. She hadn't shouted. She'd let the truth take him down. Word by word. Justice, without vengeance. Deputy Director Vasquez addressed the stunned courtroom. "These proceedings are suspended. The defendant's case will be reassigned. And a full investigation into Judge Chen's rulings has already begun." Then, turning to the jurors. "You are dismissed, with the thanks of the United States." As the jury filed out in silence, one elderly woman paused at the door. She looked back. Met Bondi's eyes. Nodded once. And smiled. Outside the courthouse, the storm had already broken loose. Satellite trucks jammed the sidewalks like armored beasts. Boom mics hung in the air like vipers ready to strike. Reporters crammed behind barricades, shouting, elbowing, jostling for position. Cameras rolled. Anchors murmured breathless updates into headsets. Everyone waited. They weren't waiting for a senator. Not a tech mogul. Not an activist with a catchy slogan or a viral soundbite. They were waiting for her. And when the doors opened, Pam Bondi stepped into the sun. No entourage. No makeup artist trailing behind. No publicist feeding her lines through a Bluetooth earpiece. Just Pam. Stone-faced. Straight-backed. Alone. In her hands, one leather case file. In her wake, the truth. Behind her, just seconds later, came the image the world would replay 100 times before midnight. Judge Edward Chen. In cuffs. Flanked by U.S. Marshals, his black robe gone, his power stripped. Eyes dazed, face colorless under the Miami sun. He wasn't being escorted. He was being removed. Click. Camera snapped like gunfire. Click. 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 There it was, the fall of a giant, captured in high definition. And beside him, in the same frame, the woman who made it happen. But Pam Bondi didn't pose. Didn't speak. Didn't even slow her pace. She glanced toward the crowd, only once, and gave a single nod. A subtle, firm acknowledgement. Then she kept walking. Down the steps. Past the flashing bulbs. Through the noise. Because this moment wasn't about her. It never had been.